Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back for another video. This one's going to be touching on The Last of Us Season 2, as we just got a first look, in a sense. HBO released their trailer for their upcoming stuff for next year, and part of that was The Last of Us Part 2, so we got our first look, our first bit of footage for the next season, and I couldn't be more excited. I'm ready to see, if anything, are they going to make any changes to the story that we know of, that is the part 2 of the game, where it's a very controversial thing. A lot of people liked it, a lot of people didn't. I'm kind of right there in the middle, where I understood that it had to go that way, but it still did not make it any easier to play and accept. But we get our first bit of footage, we get our first view of a handful of characters, so without further ado, let's jump into this and talk about The Last of Us Part 2, Season 2. So in this first shot, it opens up on the back of someone's head. I'm going to guess it's Ellie's. And they're at that town-wide celebration that we saw from the second game, where this is where she's going to be with Dina, and they get into that little fit there with that guy who says, oh, this is a family event, and just has a little hissy about them showing affection to one another. And we see that Ellie and Joel's relationship is very much fractured from what we saw at the end of the last game, because she discovered that he lied about what happened at the hospital with the fireflies and everything, and he steps in to try to stand up for her, and she kind of just takes offense to it, says that she doesn't need him to stick up for her and all this. So this is probably that scene. I imagine it'll probably play out pretty similarly to what we saw in the video game, but I guess we'll have to wait and see if they just tweak any changes along the way. The second one, we get a shot of Ellie's tattoo that she put on her arm to cover up her bite, or at least try to mask it a little bit to keep the questions or the raised eyebrows to a minimum for anyone that might see this and be like, you know, how'd you get that bite? And just to sway anybody from panicking about it and just starting all kinds of rumors or just causing trouble within the settlement in Jackson. The next one, this is interesting. We get our first shot of Catherine O'Hara, who is very famous for the role of Kate McAllister within the Home Alone movies. And, you know, she's done plenty of work over the years, over the last 30 years, because that's how long ago that movie came out. But in this one, you know, when she was announced and a lot of people guessed, I didn't really have any guesses one way or the other, but this one kind of points it in another direction. But a lot of people thought that she would play the mother of the Seraphites. She would be the prophet or whatever it was that she was. You know, I only played that game once because it was a little bit upsetting. But in this little bit of footage that we got, it seems like she's talking to Joel. And so that has to kind of point in the direction that she's in the Jackson settlement and not out there as the mother of Seraphites or whatever it was. So I have to wonder, who is it that she's playing? I'm not sure who she could be matched up or lined up with from the game. But like I said, I only ever played it once, so there's probably a lot that I'm missing. But moving on to the next one, we get our first shot of Joel, because they're having this conversation. They're talking about Ellie, you know, what did you do? What did you do for her or whatever? And we're going to get kind of a flash of different scenes about what's going on this season. In this first one, we get a shot of Ellie. It looks like she's on a hospital gurney and she's screaming, and I don't know if this is like a flashback to the hospital or what's going on here. Did she get hurt somehow at the Jackson settlements and this is them treating her? But I just don't know. You know, what this is supposed to point to as far as what part of the game, or maybe this is some new original story for the series, so not real sure there on that one. Then this one, we have the wall of the Jackson settlement. We got a bunch of people, and I'm going to assume they're infected just by the way they're just openly charging at the gate, because they have to know, if they were people that just want to be in the settlement, that they have to know that the Jackson people have weapons and they're going to defend themselves. So I'm assuming this is probably a pack of infected, more than likely charging at the gate because they got tripped off or tipped off or whatever, that they noticed people there, and being that they're just simple-minded creatures that are just there to terrorize and feed and whatnot, that they are charging at this to take at this settlement, because the infection, as we know, its only purpose is to spread, and it's going to spread until there's nothing left. This is probably a shot from that same scene. We get our first look at Tommy lined up with a scope on his gun, get ready to take out whatever's charging at the fence, but more than likely it's probably infected, and so we get to see what's going on there. And here's our first look at our Seraphite people charging through the woods and just doing their thing. Don't really know a whole lot if they're going to change between the game and the show, but I'm excited to see, you know, what they do with these characters and who's all going to be involved. Maybe we'll see some familiar faces, but I guess we'll wait and see. Then we get our first look at Dina, played by Isabel something, I forget her last name now. But we'll see this relationship develop between Ellie and Dina, and as they go on out on the revenge mission, and I'm not going to spoil it for you if you're not familiar with the game, that they go out on this revenge mission together and run into all sorts of different things, along with different aspects of Dina's life being revealed that she was kind of keeping secret there from Ellie for a little while, or at least the person responsible for her secret. Then we get this shot, and I think this is Ellie opening up automatic gunfire on something, more than likely infected, but this also could be her as she's out on her mission, running into the different dangers that are out there, and more so the people that are responsible for her being out there on this mission in the first place, the people that came to her home, caused shit, and then just took off. Then we get this beautiful aerial shot of the mountains out there where they filmed up in Canada. Then we get our first look at, I want to say his name's Isaac, the character from the game. I think he was one of the wolf leaders of the Washington Liberation Front, or whatever it was, the military group that Abby is a part of. He is one of the leaders of that group, and this guy, the actor, he actually voiced the same character in the game. This is very much like from the first game when we saw Ashley Johnson, Troy Baker, and a couple other people come in and voice different characters. Some of them voice the same characters that they did from the game, but we get our look at this guy now, and then yeah, we'll have to wait and see what they do differently with him in the series versus the game. Then we get this famous shot. If you played the game, you know exactly what this shot is. This is the shot of Abby as she has found the Jackson settlements, and she runs into infected, and she's trying to get away, and this fence collapses down on top of her. This is the moments leading up to when she meets Joel. And I'm really hoping they deviate from the game, because there was such a backlash from what the game did. I mean, it would make sense if they didn't, because it would just kind of take it off course from what the game became after the events that are coming up. But this is a very pivotal moment in the game, because it leads up to what sets off the rest of the game. Then we get a few people here on horseback. I'm not sure if these are the Jackson Settlement people or the WLF people. Then we get a shot of Ellie looking terrified. This is more than likely when she's out in the world on her mission, because in the next shot we get a clicker in a window screaming at her. So she's probably in a situation where she's run into a nest of infected or something. And that is it. That is the handful of screens that I grabbed from the little bit of footage that we got from The Last of Us Season 2. And I'm very excited to see, if anything, what they might do differently with certain characters, if they're going to deviate that much from it, or if they're just going to stick on par with what the game did and just, you know, let people get upset all over again, basically. But anyways, that's just a little bit of footage, the first look that we got at Last of Us Season 2, and I'm very excited for it. But if you enjoyed the video, you enjoyed my breakdown, please be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, of course, subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. Help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers, and it would mean the world to me. So until next time, guys, take care. Bye.